So today what I wanted to talk to you guys about is a little bit of some of the work that we're doing and some of the ways that we see analytics and measurement evolving. And I think it kind of fits nice. I think, Joanna, you did a fantastic job about talking about customers. It's something I'm super passionate about. And Aaron, attribution, and Rachel, everything kind of fits together. It's really great. We're living in this world right now that's changing super, super fast. And all of us can see this in our actual behavior from day to day, right? Consumers are completely on 24/7. They're always connected. And it's because of these amazing little computers that we all carry around in our pockets. And we see this in all different types of data, right? You can go and look at any newspaper, and it'll just show you the massive amount of time that people spend online has just ballooned. And it's primarily due to all the different devices out there, right? Some of my favorite metrics, right? Facebook went from 300 million users to over 1 billion. There's this thing called Pinterest, which just like didn't even exist until a couple of years ago. And now it's talked about all the time when we talk about marketing and how we're going to connect to people. YouTube views per day now is up at 4 billion, and there's some really insane number. There's 72 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute of every day. So in the 30 minutes I talk to you, there's going to be, what, 30 times 72 hours of video uploaded. That's a lot of video. So anyways, I'm not really good with numbers, even though I'm an analyst. But it's a ton of data, right? So everything's changing, and we totally see this impacting everything that has to do with business, right? And if we look at something like the path to purchase, it's totally changed forever, right? And it's due to just the opportunity that we as consumers have, right? And we demonstrate all of this behavior ourselves. I think this is the most amazing part of working in the marketing and analytics space, is the fact that we're kind of in the data, right? We are these numbers. We live and breathe and analyze this stuff, and yet we are this stuff. It's very meta. It's really cool, right? So 78% of purchase decisions are all made before even getting to the store. 22% of shoppers seek information during the path to purchase. 42% of sales in 2012 were online or web influenced. And this is all data from a survey we did with a company called Shopper Sciences. So it's amazing the impact that digital is having on people all of the time. Now, what's crazy is the fact that it's all over the place, right? As consumers, we're on different devices. We're on our smartphones. We're on our tablets. We're on our desktops. And so our attention is split, right? But we see it in the data that all of these things are going ahead and causing influences. And oh, that was supposed to be a sad face. Truly a sad face. You can see it's kind of... I guess it didn't like the transition from Mac to Windows. So it's great, right, because we as consumers have all of this data, but as practitioners of analytics, it's a complete pain because we have all of this different data, and it's living in all of these different places. And as Joanna talked about, right, like we want to understand our customers. We want to understand behavior. So that we can then go through and apply process, like Tim talked about, in order to better optimize our business. Like, so how the hell are we supposed to do this when Justin's on his smartphone, his tablet, and then his son takes his smartphone to play Clash of the Clans, and then his wife takes it to find out where to buy pizza? And we have all different people using different devices. It's a total pain in the butt. So as analysts, it's really troublesome. So I wanted to walk you guys through an example of a business that is kind of indicative of the split digital attention, and maybe talk a little bit about how their story of data resides in lots of different places, and then kind of get into maybe how we might fix that in the future. And so to use that, I'm going to talk about skiing. Anyone a skier or a snowboarder? That's it? Come on. I know we're not that far south. It's not like we're in Florida. I myself am a skier. I live up in Vermont. This is my favorite skier, Shane McConkey, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago in a base jumping accident. But I think skiing as an industry, when we talk about data, digital data, and understanding customers, that is really, really interesting. And let's go through and talk about that story. And as a matter of fact, this is actually kind of the way that I think of myself skiing, when in reality it's actually more like this. Don't laugh. I'm getting better. This year will be good. I'll keep up with my kids. But the ski industry is really cool. And if we talk about digital touch points, and not digital touch points, but again, let's think where we're going. Data touch points right now. Let's use the ski industry as an example, right? So all ski sites or ski areas, they have some type of website, right? And you can go any season, whether it's summer, winter, fall, or spring, and learn about what's happening. And from a data measurement perspective, right, we've kind of got this nailed, right? We've been doing the web analytics thing for a while. We're getting pretty darn good at it. We can collect all sorts of information about where people come from, where they're geographically located, how many times they've been to a website, all that great stuff. So measuring websites, boom, done, locked in, solid. Then all of a sudden, this thing called mobile came along, and it's just my opinion, but I think mobile's going to be really, really big. You guys might want to pay attention to this trend. And then all of a sudden, everyone had a mobile app. So every ski resort was like, snap, we're going to make an app. We need to have an app. Everyone has an app. And so the apps do really cool things, like they can give you the snow report, so I don't have to roll out of bed at 5:30 if it's not a powder day. But they also do cool things like they have live real-time video, so I can see what's happening on the slopes, if there's any snow, if there are any lines at the lifts, all sorts of great stuff. It's another digital way that this business is connecting with me to provide information to me as a customer, right, so that I can help make a decision. Am I going to go buy a ticket today or not? There's also all sorts of other totally crazy functionality, like it'll track me, it'll track my kids, I can watch my runs. It's really amazing, right? So, but as again, a business, I'm a ski resort, how are people using this, right? How many of my customers use this? And are these customers that have this app, are they more valuable to me than somebody else? Joanna would love to know. I would love to know, right? So now we have 2 touch points, both digital. And by the way, app tracking, getting pretty good at that too. There's all sorts of app tracking solutions. There's companies like Flurry, Localytics. There's an app tracking extension for Google Analytics as well, so it's Android or iOS, that works. So we're getting really good. We took our web tracking paradigm, we plopped it in, and we got app tracking. OK, but there's also some really cool data that comes from a ski resort. If you've ever skied before, you get a lift ticket, right? You got to pay like $90 to ski every day. And you get a little ticket, and they poke it on your jacket. And in olden days, like 5 years ago, there'd be some dude that would scan you, just like they scan your groceries. But nowadays, we can't be troubled with that. We have fancy RFID tags, right? So there's a little chip embedded in your lift ticket, and you just have to go through a scanner, and it automatically picks up who you are. Pretty cool data, right? Wouldn't you want to know that? If I was a marketer and I had to market the ski resort, I'd be like, snap, I want to know where people are. I want to know what they're doing. Is Justin ripping it up off a KT22, or is he like putzing on the bunny slopes? What's he doing? Super really cool information. But this isn't really analytics, right? So where do I get that data? All right, let's look at another spot. Food, concessions, right? I can actually, if you buy a pass to a ski resort, you can actually use it like a credit card. So I can load up my kids' passes with like $50 and say, like, go get your pizza, your juju beans, or whatever it is. Just go. Like, don't bother me. Eat whatever. But those are transactions, right? Transactional data. You might think of it as more traditional e-commerce. But that's more information. That's more data about this customer that's living in a different place. Again, valuable as a marketer because I want to understand behavior, right? Behavior, behavior, behavior. This is behavior IRL, so I want to know about it. But if we look at all of this, what we end up with is lots of different data, living in lots of different silos. And like Joanna said, like you want to get really super cozy with your SQL ninja, right? Like, yo, what's up? I want you to do some queries for me. My goal in life is to make SQL totally irrelevant to marketers and analysts. Right? I don't want you guys to have to learn how to program. But yet I want to have access to all this data because there's a lot of really great insights that I can gain from looking at all this information. OK, so we want to create a customer-centric view of our data, right? We want to create a data ecosystem for our business where the customer is kind of the focal point. And then all of their activity, all of their behavior, whether it's in the digital space or in the real space, kind of is focused in around them. They become the pivot point. They become the key that ties all of the data, all of the interactions together. And so if I'm e-commerce or if I'm a ski resort, no matter where my data is coming from or what's happening, it's all based off of the user. It's all based off of the customer. And that's kind of the whole point of this talk today is this is where we're moving analytics, right? And I think Joanna's talk was great. It totally nailed the functional use case. I'm going to talk a little bit about the platform part of it because this is what we want to build for everybody. And this is what we're actually pretty far along with. And so you may have heard the term universal analytics. And that is our series of new technologies that is actually going to enable this. Okay? And let's go through and talk about some of the key parts of it. The first thing that we are doing, and this is available right now, is we've basically opened up data collection. So you can collect data from any type of device, right? Obviously, websites, mobile apps, that's old news. That's like 2010. But you can also collect data from anything else that has a connection. So whether it's a gaming console, a set-top box, a point-of-sale system in a store, a kiosk, a ticket scanner on a ski slope, doesn't matter. If it can connect to a network, you can send data to analytics with it. And that's really huge, right? So now, if you're a nerd, do we have any nerds that kind of get down and dirty? There you go. You can embed data collection into anything. I've seen it embedded in dog collars. I've seen it embedded in refrigerators. It's pretty amazing. Like, you can get data. I've seen it embedded in like badge scanners for work, so you can see people badging into different buildings. It's unbelievable. So that was step one. You can use this now. You can send data to analytics from anything as long as it has a connection. So that, from our ski example, would be really cool because we could connect with all of the different systems within our resort. Now, the next thing is, all right, we're going to get all this data in. Let's make it user-centric data, right? And this is going back to, again, what Joanna was talking about. Right now, in the web world and in the mobile app world, we're very, very focused on visits and sessions, right? And it's really hard to measure a visitor as they jump around, right? So if I check a website from my mobile device, my laptop, and my tablet, right now I appear as 3 people. So we've changed Google Analytics, and this is slowly starting to come about, to a user-centric system, right? So now we're becoming much more focused on a singular individual. Obviously anonymous, but what we're able to do through a new feature called User ID, which Aaron, it's going to be here soon, I promise. This is the feature that Aaron wants, and everyone keeps telling him soon. But it'll be really soon, not just soon, I promise. And it'll be a Thursday, not this Thursday. Maybe next Thursday. But so this feature, User ID, what it will let you do is if you are a business, right, you probably have some type of system that you use to track your customers, right? A CRM system or whatever. Well, that system has an identifier for your customer, right? Some type of ID number. So we will let you pump that data into analytics and say, all right, when it's Justin, use this ID number, right? So if I log into your website on my mobile device and on my laptop and on my tablet, right? And all 3 of those experiences, you can kind of pump in the ID number, and we at Google Analytics will say like, oh, that's Justin, and it will process the data based on my ID. Right? And so that's really cool because now it won't look at me as 3 people. It will look at me as 1 person who's using 3 different devices. And so that really makes it possible now to tie all of these sessions together. And so regardless of where they happen, right, the data can get joined. So now I'm looking at behavior on multiple devices based on an individual, not based on a session, right? So we think this is really, really important because, again, we're going back to customer measurement. And this is really providing the infrastructure. It's not super sexy, right? It's the platform side of data and analytics. It's not the analysis side of it. But it needs to happen, right? And so it's really important to do that. I think it's obviously very, very helpful for understanding retention, right, and marketing to your existing customers, which we see a huge opportunity for growth there, as Joanna has talked about already. OK. Whoop. Now, the last part of the system, which, again, really kind of rounds out the platform, is importing more data. Right? So obviously, we have a protocol that can collect data in real time from all sorts of different devices. But you might have other systems that you might use that are specific to your business. And they might generate data that's really, really important to you. Or you might have contextual data about your industry that you might want to import. And so we're working on a feature called dimension widening that will allow you to import that data into analytics and join it. Right? So it might be demographic data about a customer. It might be purchase history. It might be weather data, whatever. Right? So you have the ability to widen the data to broaden it. And this is really useful, again, because it helps you add more context when you're using the tool. So whether you're doing reporting or you're doing some analysis and doing some segmentation, it's useful to have these additional data points to gain more context of what's happening. OK, so if we revisit what we would do on the ski resort and how we would implement analytics for them, right? So Man, this thing's killing me. Here we go, right? So we could, it's totally killing me. Go back. Right, we could totally collect data from all of our touch points now. Whether they're digital touch points or if they're real-life touch points, we can collect that data. Now, it's no small task, right, because you need to integrate with all of the different systems that are there. But we can do that. And we can tie the user experience together for an individual customer based on maybe their customer ID or their season pass ID or whatever it is, right? And we can pull that data into analytics, and we can tie the touch points together. And now, this is cool. Like, we've got behavior of an individual both in real life and in the digital world. And we can see how those things influence each other. So as an analyst, I can do all sorts of analysis. I can create all sorts of really cool hypotheses. Right, Tim? See? There you go. Tim's psyched. Right? This is tying together. So you can take everything that Tim told you to do, come up with really, really good questions. I will do this. Right? I think this, and I will take this action if it's true. Well, now imagine if you could span that across the real world and the digital space, right? So it's pretty darn useful. And so tying them all together, really, really useful. Now, the other thing that we could do is we could also, again, import some additional data. And if I'm in the ski business, I would maybe import things about snowfall totals, right? Because that might impact how I analyze my data. So if I'm getting a lot of snow, I might expect a different results or different data than if I'm getting almost no snow at all. So again, contextual data will help do better analysis, help you ask better questions, and help you understand what the behaviors are. OK, so this is pretty OK. Like, we've talked a lot about infrastructure, platform, where the data could come from, how you might use it. But let's look at maybe how specifically you might do some analysis, or what types of marketing questions that you might be able to answer. And what I want to say is that all of the stuff I'm going to show you now, right, all of the techniques and kind of all of the segmentation is available now. It's built into analytics. The stuff that I showed you like a minute ago, we're working on that. It's going to be here soon. And Aaron, really, really soon. Like, thanks. I promise we're working. We just don't want it to suck. That's it. We want it to actually work. It's kind of hard to do things for lots of people. But it'll be here soon. But this type of stuff, the segmentation stuff I'm going to show you, is available now. So you can do this on the existing data that you have. OK, so if I had this massive set of data, right, and I don't call it big data, I kind of call it more data, right? Because your business will kind of dictate if it's a lot of data. This is the right data to have. You're getting behavioral data about your customers. I don't really like the term big data, because when you think of what big data really is and you're in the data space, big data is like frickin' huge. It's ridiculous. Like a 747 will send like terabytes of data about engine performance every hour as it flies. Like, that's big data. This is good data, smart data, more data. Semi-big marketing data. Insert buzzword here, whatever. But to me, it's not big data, right? It's just smart data. But imagine if I had this data in one place, right, and I was able to segment it. I could do certain things like, do customers spend a lot of time on a certain type of terrain? Right? That would be a question I might have, right? And I might want to know that. And if I had all of this data together, I might be able to segment by, all right, show me all of the people who spend a lot of time, have their passes scanned on the beginner terrain versus the expert terrain, right? And that might help me answer a question that Tim has in his data. People spend a lot of time in the cafeterias, right? As a marketer, the marketing team would love to know that data. Does Justin spend a ton of money on food? Why? Because I can probably come up with a lot of promotions. Maybe I come up with like the parent promotion for Justin. I see that he buys a lot of hot chocolate and a ton of ice cream. The dude is totally a dad. We're going to give him like a 10% off on the sweets for his kids type of thing, right? But that type of analysis will let marketers come up with better promotions based on actual behaviors. Do customers take a lot of lessons? Again, behavioral information that as a marketing person I might offer discounts or other types of promotions if you take a lot of lessons, if you rent a lot of equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right, so how would I actually do this segmentation? And this is the part that exists today, right? We actually have a new segmentation tool built into analytics. This may not look familiar to you. If it doesn't, get used to it, because this is what's coming. About a certain percentage of you actually have access to this right now. But segmentation is going to change into a user-based segmentation, right? So right now, analytics will just focus based on sessions or visits. But you can kind of see up top it says filter users. So now what will happen with segmentation is you'll be filtering actual people. Okay? You don't know if it's Larry, Tom, Mo, or Curly. You just we'll actually go down and we'll filter the cookies because it's web-based right now, or if it's mobile, the actual mobile users, based on actual users and not sessions. So this is huge, right? So I can say, show me all the people that came from a certain medium or came from a certain campaign. Show me all the people that bought a product. It's a really much more powerful way to segment the data than what we had before. And it will allow you to do a lot more customer-centric type of analysis. Now, this functionality not only exists in segmentation, it also exists in another feature, which I skipped over, called remarketing. How many people know of the feature remarketing in analytics? That's it? Really, guys? Do you know how much work went into this? And this is, seriously? How many man hours? Like, you know, the Apollo program took less time than remarketing. So remarketing is a feature in analytics where you actually segment users, right? You actually segment people who behave a certain way on your website, okay? Literally. And what's amazing about remarketing, I think it's pretty cool, is that remarketing is actually linked into the Google Display Network. So what you can do is you can actually segment users on your site based on some behavior, and then remarket just to those people as they surf the internet. So you can actually create promotions that are based on user behavior, which is really, really cool, right? And any type of behavior. Think of all the behaviors that we do on sites. We look at content. We have micro conversions. We have macro conversions, transactions. We spend a certain amount of money. We come from certain geographic locations. We come from different types of marketing campaigns. Right? All of those behaviors can be used as signals to create a group of people that then you can remarket to as they go off and look at other parts of the internet. Right? So let's look at a really simple user segment that you could either create using segmentation or do with remarketing. Customer value. Right? People visit the site lots of different times. Sometimes they buy, sometimes they don't. I can now look at customer-focused revenue rather than session-based revenue. So I can look at the value of a customer over, let's say, a 30-month time frame, a 30-day time frame, or 60-day time frame. So it's kind of hard to see, but I want to include revenue, which is based on visitor, that's greater than a certain amount. So Joanna talked about the Pareto principle, right? 80% of my revenue comes from 20% of my customers, also known as the 80-20 rule, right? So I can start to say, I want to see those people that generate 80% of my revenue, right? I might look for my high-value customers, people who over a 90-day period spent a certain amount of money, right? And I can segment just that group, and maybe I create a special promotion just for them. Free shipping, 25% off, whatever it is. I might flip this and look at the other end. Look at my customers that I'm not giving them a lot of love, and I might say, snap, how do I get them a little bit more interested? Maybe I give them a certain promotion on a certain type of product or service that I might be offering. But the cool thing here is, again, I'm segmenting people, right? And I'm directly connecting that with an advertising mechanism, right? So I can go out and reach them. I can kind of take this one step further and look at people maybe who are cooling or defecting. And I like this one. This is kind of same thing, right? I want to see all of my customers who generated maybe at least $1,000 of revenue, but it's been 60 days since they actually converted on the website. 60 days since they actually generated some revenue for me. And again, this is actually going to segment this group of people and then allow me to create promotions focused on that behavior, that specific behavior. So maybe I throw in there another condition that says, show me only a certain product category, like cameras versus smartphones versus tablets. And then I can get even more specific in the promotions that I create. So again, I'm using their actual behavior in order to create better opportunities for my business, to retain them as a customer. That whole retention part of it, right? Because I don't want to lose customers. I want to retain all of my customers. And I can do sequential work as well. I can create sequential segments that say, all right, well, I want to target all of the people that maybe started to buy something in the shopping cart but didn't finish, right? That didn't convert at a later time. And I've seen this work really well. I've seen people get 120% conversion rates for remarketing campaigns that are based on shopping cart abandonment. So I can say, show me people that made it all the way up to the enter credit card information page, but did not actually complete the transaction. I can do that with a remarketing segment, and then I can remarket to those people. So now I can kind of draw them back from the edge of abandonment and be like, yo, dog, what happened? We want you back. Come on, right? So it might be I'm just going to offer them free shipping, or maybe I'm going to offer them some accessories. It depends. You can get pretty elaborate in the type of segmentation, and therefore that can drive a lot of different types of promotions that you might want to use. So this sequential type of analysis, I think, which is really cool now, right? You can do this now, which will become really, really amazing if you have a logged in experience, right? Because now I can say, like, I want to see people who fluctuate between tablet and laptop, and then I want to maybe reach out to them on a certain device, okay? So sequential analysis, I think, is going to be really, really fun. A lot of this stuff is available now. The remarketing segmentation, the user segmentation is available. The infrastructure platform part of it is coming soon. But this is kind of where we see everything going, right, is breaking down the walls, breaking down the silos of all this data, having a platform where you can integrate all of this information and yet still work with it in a functional way, right? So there's less SQL, right? So it's easier for you to gain insights into what's happening. You can go through the processes that Tim talked about, right? Make sure you get your setup right, like Rachel talked about. So we think it's really the way that all businesses should be moving forward. Now, one other thing that I always like to mention is that you're probably all sitting there and you're like, you know, this is great, it's awesome, but a lot of what you talked about only has to do with people who are logged into my business or my service, right? So what if someone's not logged in? How do I get all this great data about them browsing different devices and looking at different stuff? Well, I think that's kind of a challenge to the marketing people here. And Rachel already called you guys out, right? I used to have some slides in here, but I was so paranoid I was going to go over time, I took them out. But one of my favorite companies is a little company in Vermont called Gardener Supply. They sell gardening stuff. How many people garden here? That's it? Really? I'm a gardener myself. But this is great. Go check them out. They've got a great website. You can buy products, catalog, all that stuff. Super old school. But they created this little app where I can actually plan out my garden. And I can be like, oh, I'm going to put the tomatoes here, and I'm going to put the basil here. And it sends me little reminders like, yo, dog, it's time to water your basil, or it's time to harvest your tomatoes, whatever. Right? Totally got me to connect with that company by giving me a tool. So as marketers, this is a call to everybody that we need to come up with really amazing ways to create experiences for our potential customers in order to create relationships. Now I'm just rehashing everything that a lot of people others said. But you get it? If I give my potential market really cool experiences and incentivize them to create a relationship with me, i.e. log in or create an account, right, it is going to create a lot more opportunity for me as a marketer to connect with them and as an analyst to understand their behavior to create better marketing. Right? So that's just kind of a little rant that I usually don't have time for. So again, thank you guys so much. I'm really excited for the panel. Hopefully some of you guys can stick around and ask some questions. But thanks again for having me.
Thank you.